Hi, I'm Karen Burton, and I just wanted to do a quick little check-in before Thanksgiving. Tomorrow is the big day, and you already probably have your plans with where you're going to go or who's going to come over or not, and what you will or will not be making or eating. But just want to encourage you a little bit. This is a time of year that's difficult, oftentimes for people who cannot be with family for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is we're all scattered out all over the country, and some families are scattered even throughout the world. And so I learned a long time ago that holidays go much better when we just love the ones we're with, right? It's maybe that's a lot better to do that than to be thinking too much about the ones we're not with, right? It's can be a time of sadness. And the way to overcome that, the way that I have found to overcome that, is to love the ones I'm with. And there were even years when we didn't have anyone for Thanksgiving, and I found out there's a lot of people who don't have anyone for Thanksgiving, and so I used to invite a whole bunch of people over, strangers. At that time I was a single parent, and I was in a group of single parents, and was able just to put out a call to anyone in the group, and oftentimes they were people I did not even know that would come to my house for Thanksgiving. They would go to the nursing home and pick up their parents to bring over. Ones who had their children would come with their children. Ones who didn't have their children for the holiday would come without, and we would have that intergenerational Thanksgiving dinner that we all enjoy. So, love the ones you're with. If you are alone, enjoy the time. Make some plans. Mike and I were alone a couple of years ago, and I was a little bummed about it until I figured out we don't have to have turkey. Turkey's really not my favorite thing. A lot of the sides are pretty carby. They're things that we don't normally eat. So instead of trying to prepare a meal that would be something that everybody would enjoy and that also wouldn't throw us too far off track, we had the joy of just putting a couple of sirloins on they weren't sirloins, they were ribeyes, I'm pretty sure, on the grill that day, and it happened to be a nice day. We went for a walk. We enjoyed the day. Yeah, tip number one, love the ones you're with. Put your heart into that day, and if you are the only one who is just with you, then love the one you're with. Number two, it is a festival. It's an eating holiday. So plan what you're going to eat. There's going to be a whole bunch of food there. Favorites, things that you only see once a year, maybe. Other things maybe you see pretty frequently but choose to avoid for health reasons. But this is the one time a year when you pretty much know. You can go to the grocery store. Everybody has the same stuff in their cart, right? Which always amuses me to look and say, wow, this is like the one time a year everybody's eating the same meal. So you know what's going to be on the table, whether you're going to be at home and serving or you're going out to someone else's house or even to a restaurant. You know what's on the menu. So choose before you go which ones of those things are you going to eat, and about how much. Especially if you're going to choose to eat some things you don't normally eat. If you're going to choose to eat the dressing and the pumpkin pie, plan ahead of time and say, yeah, you know what? I'm going to eat those, and I'm going to eat this much, and that's what I'm going to be happy with. So just plan ahead of time. Be realistic. If you love pumpkin pie with whipped cream and you know it's on the menu, and if you know you can have some without going on a 3-month carb binge, have a little bit of pumpkin pie. Have it, be done with it. Another strategy that I use almost always before I go to any kind of a group dinner or a party where I know there's going to be a bunch of food that I would choose not to eat is I eat something before I go. And I'll eat, depending, if I don't want to eat anything when I go somewhere, I'll eat a whole pound of bacon shortly before I walk out the door. Now tomorrow, where I'm going for Thanksgiving, I do want to eat the turkey. I have decided for myself that I can have a bite. I'm going to have a little bit on my plate of the things that are offered that I would not normally eat. I'm choosing to eat the kinds of things that I know will not trigger a carbohydrate binge, which means I'm having nothing at all from the dessert table, but I am having some of the sides that I would not normally eat, because for me, I know from enough years of experience of going through different holidays which things are going to work for me, which things are not going to work for me. If this is your first time through the Thanksgiving holiday as you're eating low carb, you may not know. So you know what? Take your best guess, make a plan that you think will work, and then evaluate it and see if you want to do something different next year. You know, there is no failing as long as you learn and apply what you learn going forward. There is no failing, right? There's failing, there's learning, failing or learning, and you get to choose which one of those things it is. So, you know, for tomorrow I'll probably eat a half a pound of bacon before I go, so I'm not going to be extremely hungry, and it will be easy to stick to the things that I've decided that I want to eat. My third tip, enjoy your day. Thanksgiving comes once a year, no matter what you plan to do or who you are with or not with, what you are eating, what's on the plate, what's on the table. Just enjoy your day. You don't need to explain to everybody why you are or are not eating certain things. It's really none of their business. If they're curious, you might find a nice way to say that. Just say, well, I find that I just feel better when I eat this way. You know, if they look at this, there might be some people. Now, people I'm eating with tomorrow have eaten with me before. They know that I choose low carb. They know I choose meat-based low carb because that works best for my body. I feel best when I do that. And some of them have even noticed that when I choose to eat a little higher carb or slip a little sugar in there, that I'm just not that much fun to be around. They've noticed that. So it's noticeable. So I probably won't need to do a lot of explaining, but I never do a lot of explaining anyway. It's none of their business. You know, when they ask, well, how come you just have, you know, a bite of mashed potatoes? Say, well, you know, that I really wasn't all that hungry, but it looks so good. I just wanted to eat that much. You know, and if I don't have anything, like I'm not going to get a dessert, I'm not going to tell them I can't handle a dessert. I'm not going to tell them I'm a carbohydrate addict. People will argue that point with you, and I'm just not interested in the argument. They're not my counselor. They're not my doctor, right? Not my mama. I do try to explain some of these things to my mama because I owe her that. But other people, you really don't owe that to. The answer when people ask about dessert, why aren't you having dessert? I tell them it looks so good. Oh my goodness, that smells great. I bet that's wonderful. You know, I'm really just not hungry, but it sure looks good. And I walk away and find something else to do. And actually for tomorrow, I'm at a group Thanksgiving. I deliberately volunteered to help with cleanup after the meal, because I can get up at any time and start cleaning up, and I don't have to be around those desserts. So, you know, you might run into food pushers. I tend to run into them everywhere I go, right? Of course you do. And especially in a holiday, especially if you're with family who knows what kinds of things you enjoy eating. And I nicely decline, and if they won't let it go, I just politely excuse myself from that conversation. I just politely excuse. You know, I just see somebody I wanted to go talk to, or maybe, oh yeah, there was something I needed to check, or ooh, I think I got a text, that might be one of my kids, or maybe I need to go to the restroom. You know, whatever you need to do, you don't need to defend what you're doing that makes you healthy. Just excuse yourself politely. And give yourself some grace. Every conversation may not go exactly the way that you would want it to go, and there might be some things that might end up on your plate or in your mouth that you didn't plan on, things that you just didn't plan on them, but gosh, there they are, it happened. Give yourself some grace. Things like that happen, and it's not a lifetime sentence, right? Put it into perspective to what you've been doing up to this point and what you can do after this point and going forward. One incident is not a lifetime failure. One incident is a little detour. All right, it's just a little detour. Make it a short one. If you do a detour, make it a short one. All right. So whether you plan them or not, you just get back to your normal eating pattern as soon as possible. And that means like the next bite, if possible, if that's, where you are and you kind of, well, it's, a little late now, then with the next thing that you eat, the next meal. Don't even wait until the next day, okay? That evening you go home, you're going to be more hungry than normal if you were eating some carbs, because now your body is kicked back into that sugar burning. It's going to want some more sugar before it switches back over to burning your fat, depending on how metabolically healthy you are at the time. And if you can, just redirect, and even plan ahead of time maybe. For me, I'm going to eat that half a pound of bacon before I go. There's always bacon in my refrigerator. So for me, that's always the thing that helps me come back. I might really be hungry for some ice cream, but instead of that, I'm going to have some bacon. All right, and then at the end of the day, I also find it very helpful, especially when you've got these holidays, these things that can be emotionally triggering, and these things that can derail your progress from what you've been doing. Some of your healthy habits might, kind of go out the window, starting with getting up in the middle of the night to put a turkey in the oven, right? So there's a lot of things that can happen. So before you go to bed tomorrow night, on Thanksgiving night, just recap very quickly, even if it's just in your mind. It doesn't even have to be on paper, but think about what went well today. What went well that you're really proud of? The discussion, maybe something you cooked, maybe some temptation that you did not give into. What kind of things are you proud of today? And what went better this Thanksgiving than last year? Right? Thanksgiving happens every year. Did you handle some things better this year than last year? And also, as you're recapping your day, think about what did not go so well. If you could do a few things differently, what would those things be? So you just kind of walk back through, that conversation. First of all, I had an opportunity. Somebody was asking about, what am I doing because I'm looking so healthy, and I just shut them down because I was afraid to have the conversation. Next time, I think I'd like to answer that this way. So even your conversations, or maybe I snapped at this person and was a little more harsh. So walk back through that conversation exactly as it unfolded, and then at that point where my reaction wasn't what I wanted it to be, come back in with, well, what would I want my reaction to be? And walk back through that, and it'll help you. The next time that comes up, you'll recognize it and say, oh, yeah, I want to show up this way instead of what might be natural for me, which is what I did last time. All right, and then even the temptations, I gave into a temptation. Okay, so was it really that bad? First of all, usually it's not as bad as we think it is. If you track your food, definitely track your food on Thanksgiving. It's usually not as bad as I thought that it was. If you follow the food pyramid that we all grew up with, okay, you follow the advice of the American Heart Association, you're going to be eating 150 to 300 carbs a day. All right. So if you really go off the rails and you eat less than 100 carbs for the day, you're not doing so bad. Okay. And then the next day you just cut that down to 50, and the next day you cut it down to 20. You're back into keto in 2 or 3 days. It's not that bad. So keep things in perspective as you think about what did not go so well. The point is not to beat yourself up because you did this wrong and that wrong and that wrong. Like, no, it's to learn. It's to celebrate the fact that you learned something, okay? It's a useful exercise to help you do more of what you really deep down want to do next time. All right. As you recap your day, think about what surprised you. And why did that surprise you? Because, we plan ahead for the things we think might happen. We know that Aunt Mary is going to have her feelings hurt if I don't eat her pecan pie. She made it just for me. She knows I love pecan pie. She's going to have her feelings hurt. So I already planned for that. What I didn't plan for is my grandson made a pumpkin bread. And that is a thing that would trigger a carbohydrate binge in me, so I could not eat his pumpkin bread. That was a surprise, and however I handle that might also be a surprise. Okay, so think about those things, what surprised you and why. just to process through them. Again, those things just help us to learn and to think about, gee, when things come up that I didn't plan on, is there a way I'd rather handle them differently next time? All right, so what are you going to do different next year? Think about that as you're thinking about how your day went. Think, gee, you know, Thanksgiving's going to come around again next year. So what do I want to do differently next year? And next year is a long way away. You are on a health journey, hopefully. You are traveling on a health journey with me. And so think about also, what am I going to do differently tomorrow? Because today's done. Today's over with. Tomorrow's a new day. What am I going to do specifically tomorrow? And I actually make a list. You know, I'm going to be up and dressed by 8 o'clock, you know, and I'm gonna sit in the sunshine with my coffee, and I'm gonna read a chapter out of my Bible, and I'm gonna, you know, maybe take a walk and take a bike ride. So those pretty specific. What's my plan for tomorrow? So just to recap my healthy Thanksgiving plans, I'm going to love the ones I'm with. I'm going to plan what I'm going to eat, and that includes eating a little bit before I go. I'm going to enjoy my day, and I'm going to realize that unplanned food is not a failure. It's just a detour, and I'm going to make sure that it's a very short detour. And then number 5, I will be reviewing my day. And so I hope some of those are helpful to you. And I will be back on Saturday with a little recap of how it went. Happy Thanksgiving!